In this video, we're going to solve a pair of simultaneous equations where either pair of variables are they're not the same or the opposite of each other, but it's not possible to multiply just one of them. So 2 can't go into 3, 3 can't go into 5, and irrespective of plus or minuses, you're going to have to change both of these equations. So label our equations. There are two ways of doing this. We can either make the x's the same based on the fact that they're both positive here, or we can make the y's the opposite, so the same number, opposite signs. I'm going to do both ways for that first one, just to show you the options. What you choose to do afterwards is entirely up to yourself. So if we multiply the first equation by 3 and the second equation by 2, then that will give us 6x in both of these. Our 3y on the top will become plus 9y, and our 1 becomes a 3. And on the bottom, our minus 5y becomes a minus 10y. We have n equals 22. So this is our equation 3. This is our equation 4. Because the x's are the same, we're going to want to take these away from each other in order to make them cancel. So I'm going to set up equation 3, take away equation 4. X's cancel. We're going to have a 9 minus 10y, which will become a plus 10y. So we'll end up with 19y there. And then 3 minus 22 gives us a minus 19. After which we divide both sides by 19. We're going to get y is 1. I'm then going to sub it back into this equation because that's the easiest looking one in my opinion. So we're going to end up with 2x plus 3 lots of minus 1 equals 1, which will give us 2x minus 3 equals 1. Add 3 to both sides, we'll have 2x is 4, and then divide both sides by 2, we'll end up with x equals 2. Okay, so we should have those same answers for our other one, x equals 2 and y equals minus 1. So in order to make the y's the same, I'm going to multiply, or the opposite even, we're going to multiply 1 by 5, and we're going to multiply 2 by 3. So that's going to give us 2x becomes 10x, 3y becomes 15y, and 1 becomes 5. We'll then have 3x becomes 9x, minus 5y becomes minus 15y, and 11 becomes 33. So that's our equations 3 and 4 for this way. Then, in order to make the opposites cancel each other out, we're going to have to add these together, which means we're going to do 3 plus 4. And then 10x plus 9x gives us 19x. The y's cancel, and then 33 plus 5, we're going to get 38. Divide both sides by 19, we'll get x is 2. And then sum it back into, again, that first equation. So we're going to end up with 2 lots of x, which is now 2, plus 3y equals 1. So we end up with 4 plus 3y equals 1. Take away 4 from both sides, and then divide both sides by 3. And we're going to have exactly the same answers as we did before. X equals 2 and y equals minus 1. Now my personal preference is to always make the variables that have opposite signs the same. If there is a plus or a minus, I find it's easier to add things together, especially when negatives are involved, as opposed to subtracting them. So that's how I'm going to play it with the following ones. So our pair of simultaneous equations here, my eyes are drawn to the fact that I can make these y's the opposite of one another. If I multiply the top equation by 3, and I multiply the bottom equation by 7. So 6x tripled becomes 18x, minus 7y becomes minus 21y, and the 23 becomes a 69. That's equation 3. 8x times 7 becomes a 56x, plus 3y becomes a plus 21y, and 6 becomes a 42. That's equation 4. Then, in order to make these cancel one another, I'm going to have to add them together. So adding these equations together, or in other words, doing equation 3 plus equation 4, is going to give us 18x plus 56x gives us 74x. The y's have cancelled, and 69 plus 42 will give us 111. After that, if we divide both sides by 74, we're going to end up with 111 over 74, which simplifies to being 3 over 2, or 1.5. Once we've got our x value, I'm going to then sub it into this equation here in order to find y. So we're going to end up with 8 lots of x, which was 3 over 2, plus 3y equals 6. 8 times 3 over 2 will give us 12, plus 3y equals 6. Take away 12 from both sides, will give us 3y is minus 6, and then divide both sides by 3, give us y is minus 2. So we have, should really have wrote this out separately, x is 3 over 2, and y is minus 2. Lastly, this pair of simultaneous equations. Now I don't have a choice here, or do I? The x's match, and so do the y's. Okay, now I was saying before about how I prefer to add or subtract. I prefer to add variables together, especially when one's plus, one's negative, because then they cancel each other out. So what I like to do here is I'm going to focus on the y's, and I'm not only going to make the number the same, but I'm actually going to make one of them a negative. So I'm going to try and, a positive. So I'm going to actually multiply this bottom equation by a negative number in order to make it a positive term, which kind of makes life easier down the road. Now, it's personal preference. You're going to have to deal with the negatives at some point in this question anyway, so it really depends on which option you choose. Pick your poison. So here, I'm going to multiply equation 1 by 5, will give us a minus 30y, and I'm going to multiply equation 2 by a negative 3, and that will give me a positive 30y. And then I'll proceed like normal. So the first equation, 7x, will turn into a 35x, or minus 6y is now a minus 30y, and we have equals 10. Second equation, 5x times negative 3 gives us a minus 15x. Negative times y times a minus 3 gives us a plus 30y. And then a 10 times negative 3 gives us a negative 30. Now we have our y's the opposite of each other, so I'm going to add these together. So adding equations 3 and 4. 35x plus a negative is the same as taking away, so 35 take away 15x effectively, it will give us 20x. The minus 30y plus 30y is cancels, and then the 10 plus negative 30, again like a negative, so 10 take away 30 will give us a minus 20. Divide both sides by 20 then, and we get x equals minus 1. Then, subbing into any of the equations above, we don't really have any nice ones here. I'm just going to pick this one. So we have 7 times minus 1, take away 6y equals 2, which gives us minus 7, take away 6y equals 2. Add 7 to both sides, and that's going to give us some negative 6y equals 9. And then divide both sides by minus 6. Now what will happen here is we'll end up with my 9 over minus 6, which is the same as a negative 3 over 2. So our answers here are x is minus 1 and y is minus 3 over 2. Done.